Hi, welcome back. We had a week apart of learning our Mishnah Berachot together when Yontif fell on the Wednesday. So it's nice to be back and learning together. We're continuing with Mishnah 3 of Chapter 5 of Berachot. Before I begin that, I'd just like to read off this week's yard sites. Normally we do this day by day at morning Shacharit Minyan, and without having Shacharit Minyan now, I like to do it once a week for the whole week's list of yard sites for the synagogue this week. Okay. Albert Shochet, Albert ben Naim, Denise Ann Frummer, Devorah bat Yaakov Ruvain, Lina Emanuel, Leah bat Yosef, Meredith Cohen, Miriam bat Avraham, Morris Hubbers, Moshe ben Alexander, Anthony Falk, Nathanael ben Yedidia, Elizabeth Rapkin, Elisheva bat Moshe, Francis Shuftin, Yosef Abramowitz, Yosef ben Abraham, Betty Simon, Batya bat Yehoshua, David Jackson, David ben Yehuda Leib Halevi, Edith Barkani, Hugo Barkani, Leon Henry, Leib ben Abraham, Maurice Steiger, Moshe ben Yonah, Eli Emanuel, Gedalia ben Yitzchak, Irina Steinreich Goldwasser Garda, Irina bat Yaakov Helena, Phyllis Marks, Ruth Sif, Ruth bat Hersha Cohen, Samuel Glasser, Shmuel ben Yosef, Saul Hari, Shlomo ben Ezra Levi, Jacob Neville Green, Yaakov ben Shimon, Ida Eisman, Idia bat Abraham, John Walter Border, Yisrael ben Wolf HaKohen, Simon Zekel Shimon ben Shimon. Okay, so we'll continue with Mishnah 3 of Chapter 5 of Berachot. Here we go. So we were talking about davening and the Amidah, and now we're talking about people who are leading prayers. So let's see what we have to say about that. Ha'omer al kan sipor yagia rachamecha, v'al tov yizacher shemecha, modim modim, mishatkinoto. If one says, your mercy extends even to the bird's nest, and for the good which you do to us, your name shall be remembered, or we give thanks, we give thanks, he is silenced. So why for each of these three things is if the person's leading prayers, they say one of these three things, they should be silenced. They should be told to stop leading prayers for the community in that moment, not be waiting until after they finish. First of all, some context is that this would be in a time when people were regularly adding things to the communal prayer. We don't do that anymore. We have a more structured prayer. There's not much improvisation or personal additions for the person leading for the community. But this is at a time when that was not so uncommon. So what are these three things that they should be silenced for saying? So the first one, Al kan sipor yagia rachamecha, that your mercy extends even to the bird's nest. So there's we have the mitzvot of shluach haken, that you should shoo the mother bird away before taking the eggs, or the mitzvah that we don't kill the parent and child of an animal. We don't slaughter on the same day. So someone's saying that maybe your mercy towards these animals, your mercy extends even towards the bird's nest. Maybe you're excluding God's mercy for his other creations, and that's why you shouldn't say this. Or alternatively, you're trying to infer what that mitzvah is about in the first place. So shluach haken, you're saying that it's about mercy. Maybe it's more complicated than that. We don't understand God's laws exactly. So there's some kind of problem with saying this for one of those two reasons. The second one, and for the good which you shall do to us, shall your name be remembered. It's taking the good and not taking the bad, that we have to praise God in spite of good or bad and accept those things from God, and not the good to the exclusion of the bad. We give thanks. The person would be silenced if they said that. Because of the repetition, it sounds like it could be giving thanks to multiple entities, multiple deities, which is a big problem, of course, for a monotheistic religion. So the repetition there is problematic. So that's why we would silence a person for saying that. Continuing, Ha'over lifnei hateva v'ta'a, ya'avor acher tachtav, v'lo yehei sarvan ba'ota sha'a. If he went before the ark and erred, so if he's the person leading for the community, another shall take his place. he may not decline at such a time. So normally we say that someone should, if they're asked impromptu to lead the community in prayer, they should maybe be humble, think of themselves as not being fitting for such an important task, and refuse. But if someone needs to be replaced immediately because of an error, a serious error, we need to replace the person leading. That is not the time for humility. That is the time for anyone who is capable and is asked to lead to immediately get up and take over, so there's not too long of a lag between. Okay, continuing. Minayin hu matchil, mitchilat habracha sheta'ava. So from where does he begin? Where does this person who took over for the person who erred in the serious way, he takes over from the blessing which the mistake was made on. So at the beginning of that blessing, go from the beginning again of the one where the mistake happened at any point within it. Okay, Mishnah 4. Ha'over lifnei ha'teva lo ya'aneh achar ha'kohanim amen mipnei ha'teruf. Whoever goes before the ark, so the person leading the prayers, shall not answer Amen after the Kohanim, because he might become confused. So, this has to do with Nesiyat Kapayim, that the Kohanim duchening, doing the prayer for the community. In our diaspora Ashkenazi communities, we only do this on Yom Tov, that we have duchening. In other communities, in Sephardi communities, and in Israel, this is done regularly, daily. But either way, this is talking about the Kohanim have to make their bracha that they do at the beginning, and then it's word for word with the Shliach Tzibor, with the person leading the prayers, saying the words. The Shliach Tzibor, the person leading, should not say Amen because he might become confused. He might get distracted. It's not a word that's actually in the text of the Amidah that he's reciting. So he individually shouldn't say Amen. We continue. V'im ein sham kohen elahu lo yisad kapav. If no kohen is present except him, he must not raise his hands. The person leading ideally shouldn't be doing Nesiyat Kapayim if they're leading, but there's an exception. Here we go. V'im havtachato shehu noseat kapav v'choser letfilato rashai. But if he is confident that he can raise his hands and resume his tefillah, he is permitted. So maybe you've seen this before, that the person leading is a kohen. It sometimes happens that the chazan happens to be a kohen, so they have to do this. They have to have their hands washed beforehand and do the duchening in the middle of their davening and turn around and do that. So if someone needs to be skilled in order to do that, has to be experienced with that and know how to do it properly, so that they don't have any mistakes of delays, unnecessary pauses, and so forth. Okay, and finally Mishnah 5. This is the last Mishnah of chapter 5. Hamit palel v'ta'a siman ra lo, v'im shalik tziborhu siman ra l'shluchav, mipnei sheshlucho shel adam kamoto. If one commits an error in his recitation of the tefillah, of the Amidah, the repetition of the Amidah, it is a bad omen for him. And if he is a congregational reader, if he's the Shliach Tzibor, the person appointed by the congregation to lead on their behalf, it is a bad omen for those who sent him, because a man's agent is as himself. It's this concept of shlucho kamoto. So that someone, if they appoint a representative, that person is there representing them. So it's saying that error it's not desirable to have error in tefillah. Someone should be experienced and should be confident with the words, should be practiced in the words, because of this bad omen. Continuing, Amru alav al Rabbi Chanina vendosa shehaya mitpalel al hacholim ve'omer ze chai v'ze met. Amru lo minayin ata yodea. Amar lahem im shegura tefilati befi yodea ani shehu mitkubal v'im lav yodea ani shehu metoraf. So they said of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa was this very pious sage, known for people would ask him to pray on their behalf. That he would pray for the sick and say, "This one will live and that one will die." They asked him, "How do you know?" He said to them, "If the prayer is fluent in my mouth, I know that he is accepted, and if not, I know that he is rejected." So he's saying that the idea of the fluency of prayer is so important that he knows as soon as it leaves his mouth if it was a prayer that God is going to accept. I'm surely I wouldn't put this kind of weight on the prayers of ordinary people, that it could be so telling about whether God will accept or not. But I think all of these Mishnayot that we just looked at, the three that we just looked at, are really coming to say one thing, which is the importance of leading prayer, the importance of being that representative for the community, prayer in general, and the seriousness one should have in preparing for that and trying to be very comfortable with the words and to make it beautiful and fluent. These are all very important values expressed in these Mishnayot. Thank you for joining, and have a good week.